Oh, really? Yeah.
Tell me when, gang. Okay, thanks for coming. I'll make some comments on the local councils issue. This is a government at war with itself. We see leaks from Ms Berejiklian's most senior cabinet colleagues designed to force her hand. Her cabinet hasn't even met for the first time, and we see these leaks. This is a government that stands divided. I mean, frankly, it's shambolic. No one knows what the government's policy is on council mergers. Clearly, you have the Deputy Premier batting against his own government, out on his own freelancing in an attempt to save his skin in his own electorate. He's not a team player, we knew that some time ago, but you just have to reflect today, in the first week of Ms Berejiklian's government, the government itself is a house divided.
We all know who it is, don't we?
Of course we know who it is. The leaker here is the same leaker who leaked on Mr Baird about greyhounds. He's now leaking on Ms Berejiklian about council mergers. The leaker is John Barilaro, who's only interested in himself and is anything but a team player.
I don't really, putting the leaks aside, the issue here is council amalgamations. If this happens, what do you think about that? So if they then undo, you know, you've got a policy to undo them all, so isn't it a good thing if they undo them all?
Well, Bridge, who knows what the government's policy is? Only last week on the Sunrise program, Ms Berejiklian was saying she thinks the forced merger policy is a good policy. Her words on the 24th of January. The Deputy Premier's got a different view, and he's clearly working hard to torpedo his own Premier's support for council mergers. Who knows what will happen? It never should have got to this point. Local communities were treated with contempt. This is a rotten, hated policy, the length and breadth of New South Wales, forced council mergers. And the onus is on the Premier and her government now to come up with one policy, not the several they have at the moment, tell us what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and how much it'll cost people.
Mr Foley, if it does go ahead as being suggested, which you know, the councils that have already been merged stay that way, will you know, allow them to demerge?
Yeah, our policy since that sad day when the government sacked dozens of mayors, hundreds of elected councillors who between them had received the votes of millions of our fellow citizens, I said on that day that we'll allow communities to determine their future. A Labor government would allow citizens to have plebiscites to vote democratically on whether to demerge or stay in the merged councils. You just have to give them a say. That's the principle here in a democracy. You have to give local communities a say.
Isn't this about, isn't this really just about the by-elections, like, you know, particularly North Shore and Manly? That's why they're doing it, because they've got a popularity vote coming up and they need to fix it.
It's about nothing other than political self-interest. The Deputy Premier is trying to save his skin in his own electorate, and Liberals walking away from their own policy are doing it only to save themselves in North Shore. They haven't listened to the people. I mean, all of them have form, from Ms Berejiklian down, in speaking for the policy of forced council mergers. All of them have form. The change of heart here, if there's to be one, is only to save their own skins.
Is this a sign also, thanks a lot for the drilling going on.
I know. I mean, this is Harwin and they made him a minister.
Is this, if she does this, this is now, they've backflipped on greyhounds, they've, you know, watered down lockouts, backflipping on councils. Yeah. Is this a sign of weakness?
What it is a sign of bad government. If they got all these decisions wrong, if they got so many decisions so wrong that they now have to U-turn on so many issues, you just have to conclude they've been a bad government.
a lot of people are ringing up Talkback Radio saying, well, they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in these legal battles. I think it's a waste of taxpayers' money. I think we should just leave the decisions as they are now. What do you think about that?
Well, if there's to be such a process, and who knows what their policy is, they don't know. They have several policies in their divided cabinet. But if there are to be plebiscites sooner rather than later on demergers, it will cost a bomb. And that is very regrettable. But be that on their head, because they arrogantly decided to force mergers and treat local communities with contempt by never asking them in the first place what they wanted when it came to their local government.
Do you think the people of regional New South Wales are being played? We've got a leak from a senior Nationals minister, and I mean, lots of hope, I suppose, in the wake of that leak. And many are saying that it hasn't even been discussed in cabinet. What do you say to that?
What I say is this bloke's a cancer at the heart of Ms Berejiklian's government. He leaked on greyhounds to knock off his best mate as leader of the National Party. Mr Baird was right not to trust him. Mr Baird was right not to let him know that he was going to resign because he knew Barilaro would leak it. And he's up to his old tricks yet again. And Ms Berejiklian is finding out what Mr Baird knew, that he's the most unreliable and self-interested and self-centred of coalition partners. The team here has finished. It's a divided team.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.